Alright, I'll try to do this simply. Oops. So, obviously have Sandbox. Mine is just on my desktop. I have a folder called Sandbox, just to keep it organized. And this is where I keep all the stuff I want. So, obviously, my track, you can ignore all this stuff. It's just editing. It's just extra stuff that I've done, but my tracks, and then this is obviously where you keep all your tracks. I have a track mat folder with just all the, and we'll get to this later, but it has all the things that you want the track to look like: the asphalt, the walls, the grass, the fence, anything that you see that you want, or you can make it. I have some separate videos on kind of how to put that stuff into the game, but how to make it and everything. So I have a track mat that goes in the track folder, but like we'll go Pepsi. So I made this track. So name it Pepsi. Whatever you name your folder, whatever the track name is. Like this one's obviously Pepsi. So the Sandbox file has to be named the exact same thing, otherwise the game won't read it. And then you can see here, I'm up to 56 different times I've saved it, because Sandbox is finicky. So as soon as I open it and change stuff, if I've been working for 5 minutes or something, just because I'm paranoid about losing stuff because it's happened, I'll usually save it, and I always save it as the next number up, just so one, I know that this is the most recent because it's the highest number, and two, if I was to save as like 54 twice and then it corrupts or crashes on me, and I just did a bunch of work, then I'd have to drop back to a lower number, and then it's like, oh shoot, I just lost everything, this sucks. Some people do it as like 1, 2, 3, and then they get to 3 and then they rename it 1 again. It's easier for me to just keep going with the numbers. Then I don't overwrite anything, just if all else fails, I always have something to go back to. So that's kind of set it up. Obviously there's a lot of tracks, but I do my tracks, set that up, and then put your track mat folder in there, and like all this stuff doesn't really matter at first. This is all just like the decals around the track and the 3DOs, so that'll all come later, but you need the track mat. You can see I don't have that much. These are a few asphalt textures that I liked, and then the dotted white, paint white, paint yellow. You can steal these from, like, the general rule of thumb is anything on the original Papyrus tracks is just free game. You just take it because it's just kind of open source. If you get into tracks other people have made, a lot of it will be similar, but some people get weird if they've made their own textures or something. Some people, at least from what I hear, I've never been called out or anything like that, but some people might get mad. Like here, I made a lot of these different wall textures and everything, and if someone would use them, it'd be like whatever, but the guys who are like really good and make it look super realistic, they might not appreciate things being stolen. So default Papyrus tracks are always the best. I can't remember where I got this, but there is editing files. I think it might be the pits.us, I think, and you scroll all the way to the bottom and there's like Sandbox tools. I don't use these a whole lot, but they have track tools, and there's all this different stuff. I don't have Excel, so it's kind of pointless because I can't open these because you need Excel, but apparently it can help you with your slope, so it's nice and smooth instead of doing what I'll kind of show you here in a bit. But the pit tool is kind of nice if your track's straight, and then there's all that stuff. I don't use them because either I can't because I don't have the right files, or I just don't know how, so I skip it. But yeah, so that's kind of how I have that all set up. But with Sandbox, to get it going, you'll obviously open it. First thing you do is right click, create a straight, and then don't touch anything else. You just go and save as, and navigate to your Sandbox, your My Tracks, and then whatever you want the name as. I always save it as the name because then when I add the numbers, once I put it in the game, I can just delete the numbers. It's good. But for now, we'll just do. Oh, why is it not? What's going on here? Okay, there we go. I'll just name it test, save it. Now I usually exit out just so I can go in and make sure. Oh shoot, forgot to make a folder. Make a folder for it first. That would be helpful. And then, like I said, you can. I'm just going to use this track mat folder because it's simple. I just like to save it, exit out, and then get back in just to make sure it's working. So you don't do a bunch of stuff and save it and then get in and it's like, oh, it didn't even work. This sucks. And the way the game reads it is that it has to be named track mat, no spaces or nothing. That's just how NR reads it. So again, you just put in whatever asphalt you like. You can also make your own. I'm not that artistic, so things I make are pretty basic usually, but these are like the basic things that I like. You can make a track out of these things. The paint dotted white, I think that's asphalt 3. Oh, this one's asphalt 3. I think this one is the dark asphalt, if I remember correctly. So that matches up. And there's different ways to make all the MIPs, but this is what I use anyway. So that you can get into the track. Sandbox will load, kind of funny. Oh, and also I can go over that real quick. If you right click on your thing, go to properties and go to compatibility. Why is it in Windows 8? That's weird. Anyway, run the compatibility troubleshooter. It makes Sandbox a little more stable for a lot of people. Mine rarely crashes anymore. I didn't realize it was Windows 8, but sure. Oh, is it just doing Why is that there? Hopefully this isn't just Sandbox. That would kind of suck. That was weird that it just popped up there. Anyway, makes Sandbox a little more stable. But anyway, so here you have your track. You right click, unlock all geometry, and then you can create a straight. You have your head angle here, so if you know it or you want to get close and just be precise, you can move it. And if you want exactly 45, like that's 44.98 there. C moves the screen wherever your cursor is. It pops to your cursor. X is zooming out and V is zooming in. That's like the only 3 keys. So if you want it precise, you just zoom way in, click on the little box, and you can just drag it up and get there. If you wanted a certain distance, you can do that. To the bottom left is your segment length. Again, if you know the segments, and it's always in meters initially. If you are American and don't know what meters are, you can go displayed units, yards, feet, inches. NR reads everything in meters though, so like when I'm building, to make sure it's the right thing, I usually go feet because again, I don't know meters. It's probably a me problem, but don't know it. Doesn't make sense in my brain real quick because I've grown up with feet. This is the overall track length. As you add to it, that gets tall. So again, if you know how long you want your track to be, you can do that. And then these numbers down here aren't that important right now, but once you get your track INI file, which is way later after the track's built, but that's what tells the game where pit road is, where entry is, where the pit stalls are. Then you will need this stuff, and you can see like I'm on here and now there's the white numbers. I'm not sure what the bottom ones are for, but when you're putting in coordinates, always use the top ones. So the first one's D long, second one's D lat, as you can see, and then you know the exact coordinates based on that, so it can help you get everything right. And so just real quick, I'll zoom out. So we have a straight, and then if you want to turn or another straight, and like the lengths don't really matter other than where your turns are and stuff, but like if you do it long and you're like, oh, I actually want it to have a wall that cuts off right here, you can always go back and split segment and just choose exactly where to split it. I always try to keep my segment lengths longer than 10 feet. I had a track where they're shorter and it's kind of buggy. I don't know if that's what did it, but just in case, I try to keep them longer than 10, or not 10 feet, 10 meters, but whatever works. So you can just split it, and oh, I didn't do that, but you can split it later. For now, I'll just get the general shape. Append segment is going forward, prepend is going back. So you can do another straight if you want, and whatever you do that from, it'll be the exact same length, which is kind of nice for like if you want your turns to be the same. So you'll do a curve. You kind of just guess the whatever, and then you do append and curve, and it's the exact same curve, so your turn will be nice and even. And if you want to kind of throw a loop in their, or a wrench in their planes, you can make it kind of just be a little bit different. That's why I did Supercell. It goes in a little easy and it gets tighter, just because I thought that'll be fun. And if you move that and you don't like it, you can just delete it and put a curve in again. Do 2 straights. Obviously with a go-kart track this will be more intensive, but you can see there like this got a little longer just because of I adjusted that one, didn't adjust that, so it's like, oh shoot, it's off. But just gotta make sure you come in, get it close. And once it's close, what I usually like to do is I go to the start, do a prepend, and go back and just have it come out straight. And then when you get close, you'll see this other purple line. That is where this line needs to be to match up with it. So then you match up, and these need to be like really close, otherwise the track gets all funky. So you just get them close, and then you can right click and attach segment at tail. And as long as they're close, the game will shift them around, so it's a smooth transition. But that is good. These red lines here are called X sections. They are what control the banking. You'll always have 2 on the outside, and that is the boundaries of your track. Never cross these over. I've seen some tracks that do it, I don't understand how they work, but if you cross them over, Sandbox doesn't like that, and when you save it and try to reopen it, sometimes it does not open and you lose your track. So I usually just keep them far away, and usually these will be on the inside of your track anyway and not really an issue. And then like things like this in the corner, again, some people will do it and it works fine. I try not to go all the way down to the bottom like that. I try to just keep them a little bit off, just keep them that much more separated, just in case. Tyler Stallhood says the same thing. He likes to keep everything separated because Sandbox is finicky and sometimes you just lose everything. And then when you are building the track, you right click, insert. F sections are going to be all of your textures, so your asphalt, your grass, anything that is on the ground that you would drive on, or at least see, like any water. Actually, I can show you. So you got your F section, then there's this dialog box that'll pop up. You click on an F section that's not highlighting for some reason. Unlock materials. What is going on here? Oh, well, no, it should. I'm not sure why. Oh, duh. You need more than one F section. So it's always a boundary. It always fills to the left. So this first F section that I put in, Usually slide that all the way close. These, it doesn't seem to affect anything. Sometimes I'll slide them all onto the red line just because I'm lazy and don't want to get close. But otherwise you can just get close and it'll pop off a little bit. But it always fills to the left, so you have to have your innermost one, and then another one can come in and fill it somewhere else. And then when you click on this, you can come over here. You have all these different materials. That's how you make multi-groove, is asphalt, concrete, paint. Those are the most common ones for the groove. Dirt tracks are dirt and grass. And you can change the grip values later. Inaccessible and invisible. I think that's just like when the AI cars, or if a car in front of you drives over it, they would just disappear for a little bit. So you could play a fun prank on your friends when you build a track. But I haven't messed with those much. Gravel. Sounds like gravel. It's not great to drive in. It's pretty bumpy, slows you down a little bit. Sand really slows you down. That's like all the sand traps that if you get in, you go like 5 miles an hour. Rumble is for like curbs and stuff. This can also be a grip or another groove, but it also vibrates and rumbles and stuff. So water, if something is water and you drive in it, it will, like, you'll drop down into it for a little bit and then your car won't work anymore. So careful with that one. But sometimes it might be nice if you have a lake and you want it to be more realistic. But you just select asphalt or concrete or whatever. Then you have the racing surface. These are important too. Anything that they're going to be racing on, make sure it is racing surface. Just off the racing surface, obviously have the apron. And then coming to pit road, it only needs to be the section right before pit road. I'll show you kind of real quick in a bit, but only has to be the section right before. But I usually do from where you pull off the track up to pit road. It has to be apron near pits, and then it can switch to pit road. And if you don't have those right, you'll have a bunch of black flag issues, because the game is reading apron near pits is when your spotter will say speed limit's 45 or whatever, and then once on pit road, that's when timing starts, and that's a whole nother mess. But has to have apron near pits. Same coming off, at least the first section off of pit road needs to be apron near pits. Again, I've seen tracks where it's just apron and it works fine, but I always try to do apron near pits, and it's literally labeled that, so it's pretty easy to remember. Pit stall, obviously where the pit stall goes, if you forget that, you'll be able to pull into your box and they'll just constantly say you're too far left, you're too far right, and they won't service you because the game doesn't know that you're in a pit stall, because there is none. But for now, we'll just leave it racing surface, and then you can select your asphalt, and you can see here it filled in. Someone did a good job. It looks like that. And then if you're like, oh, that's like not quite how I want. Oh, also you can go to camera view. If you click on it and hit spacebar, double click there and hit spacebar, you can kind of move around, and it kind of shows you a 3D preview if you want to kind of see like, oh, how's it look when I'm on it. And if this is like some texture is way too big, you check mark this box, and then with these boxes you can change some value. I just kind of make it up, but you can see it's smaller now, or you can make it a lot bigger. Oops, did 0. You make it a lot bigger, and now it's like super granular. With these, I usually do like 2.5 probably for both of them is about average. That looks somewhat close to realistic in the game. A lot of tracks will even be as small as 0.8. And you can see the smaller you go, the more it repeats. So the file it's sending is just this little bit, but the smaller you go, the more it repeats. And if you check mark these, the U is the horizontal and the V is vertical. So if you check mark both of them, it will take whatever this MIP is, it stretches it and fills exactly that thing. So sometimes it works really good, and sometimes it will like be a little bit weird, like, especially around curves, because it's stretching, that you'll see little breaks in it. Sometimes it's unavoidable just because the way the game is. Sometimes you can fix it if you change stuff. And if you do have it like this and you're like, I don't want it to be just straight on like that, or if there's something on the track that's a little curved. These two after the U, the first one is the head section, and the head is just whichever way the track is going. The first one that you hit is the head. So if you're like, oh, I want it curved, you can do 5, and you can see it's skewed just a little bit. And then at the tail, if it like really goes off, you can do like -15, and now you can see it's really slanted. Same with vertical, but vertical just moves it up is positive, down is negative. So if like I had an ISRL logo or something right here, and I wasn't visible and I wanted it to be, I could do like -20, and you can't really tell because it doesn't have a logo, but whatever's up here would now be moved down. You can see it. Sometimes these are finicky, you kind of have to play with them to get them good, but that's not too bad. I'm just going to throw in some F sections here, just to show you stuff. Right now they don't need to be connected. So front stretch, we'll just pretend this is our pit. Usually with pit lane, I just make it different asphalts. One, so you can kind of tell when you're coming to pit road. And also it's super easy when you're building a track if you can just look down and be like, oh, okay, there's my pit road. That's the racing surface, whatever. Or if you want it all the same, you can just make this slightly different too. And then the racing is really small, and that one's just a little bit bigger, but it's pretty much the same look. Not that you have to, but that's just kind of how I do it for my own brain keeping stuff straight. And so like, if this section here happened to be pit road entry, then this section, instead of racing surface, I would change to apron near pits. And just to check, you can go to view, and then this one would be pit road. You can go to view, and you can go to display surface types. And not that one. Display extended surface types. So this light orange color will be apron near pits, and then blue will be pit road. So you can just quick double check just with colors, like, okay, I got apron near pits and then pit road starts, that's good. If it's apron, it's a different orangish color. So if you see that, it's not the end of the world, but I always like to go and change it back to apron near pits just so it works a little bit better. Pit stalls are a light blue color, and then the track racing surface is always this darker gray. If you do surface types, asphalt is a darker gray, concrete is a lighter gray, paint is white. I actually don't know what rumble is. Rumble is green. Good to know. I think walls are purple. There's a different color for everything. Grass is a darker green. So again, if you're just like, you get your track made, there's a tight corner, but you want someone on the outside to maybe have a chance, you can do asphalt and then do concrete around the top side, and you just add more grip to the concrete. So inside it'd still be preferred, but it's not a complete wash if you're on the outside. Some tracks work well with one type of material all the way across. Some work better with two. I like to add two because it's a game and I want it to be fun. So side-by-side racing is usually more fun instead of you get on a lane and you just drive away. It's obviously different with the go-kart tracks. It'll be left and rights, I assume. Road courses are a little bit different. But yeah, then this way you can look and see where your grip lines are and tinker with them and all that. And then you just go back to display textures. So that's kind of the basics of that. And again, you just save. And I usually just do _1. Oops, why is my 1 key not working? Things being weird. Automatically center save track. Right now, because I have nothing on the background, I'll click yes. And I think there's a video of it, but it's called a background image. So I don't know if it's outdoor or indoor, or if you can find a track. Oh, I can just do it quick. I don't remember what it's called. Was it Dallas or something? Dallas go-kart track map. So, oh yeah. If you find a real image, it's pretty good. Let's just use this one. Because it'll look most realistic when you match it up. So we'll just do that. Save your image wherever. I have a pictures folder. I use GIMP. I'm sure the process is the same with Photoshop or Krita, however you say it. I just use GIMP because it's free. So the background image, you can put it behind your track, and you can basically lay the track out the exact same way, and then you know that it's the most accurate to that track that you can get it. But you go in here, oops, go to pictures, get whatever. Hopefully they have a track map somewhere, and then I always do that. Make sure that it is in a power of 2, like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, so on and so forth. Either 1024 or 2048. 2048 would probably be the best for any background image. That'll keep it the most clear, which is important when you're trying to make something that's accurate. Then the lines are just easier to see. And then sometimes this will screw with the picture, like there it kind of got stretched. So I don't always scale it to exactly how I want. Sometimes I'll just leave it how it is, but it still needs to have a background and be sized in a power of 2, otherwise the game does not like it. Then you open WinMip. I guess before WinMip, you can save that, but export it. Always export it as a TGA. Oops, not PTGA. TGA, a Targa file. Again, that's the file that NR2003 reads, so it has to be a TGA or a BMP. I always use TGA because that's just what I use. We'll just name it map. You can name it, obviously, whatever makes sense to you. If you want to make another folder for this, you can. I'm just going to save it right with the pictures. Export it. Then you go to WinMip, open it wherever you saved it to. Just find it. Get the TGA, open it, and then TGA.file. Change that to a MIP. The type, I don't remember. It's something with something. There's something online that tells what that number is. The map number is how it's repeated. So I think 0, it's tiled on every side. So like with the asphalt, or is 0 none? 0 is either none or all. But if it's all, this image would just be repeated to every side. 1, I think, is just repeated vertically. 2 is repeated horizontally, and 3 is either none or all. Again, there's something online that explains that. The priority, the higher the number, the more it like the cars themselves are 8 priority, I think, or at least the windows are, so that when you're driving, that's what you see first. If it's 1 priority and then something else is 4 priority, that 4, if it's behind it, might shine through it, or not shine, but like it'll show through it and it'll kind of look weird. So the road and the walls are usually always 4. Trackside objects, from what I've seen, are usually 3. If they're all 1, it's not that big of a deal, but sometimes if there's something behind it, it screws it up. But for this, you can just leave it 1. You can leave all that the same. You can save, and I usually just go and save it right into our track. And this one, automatically is named .mip. I just save right into the folder, not in the track map, because you don't need it in the track map. So now you can see we got map, and then we can come here to adjust background image, select map, hit OK, and now you can see kind of how big it is. And then so what I'll usually do too is I'll find it on Google Earth, or if you know like how long this straight is, measure that, get exactly how long that is, and then on view there's something called a linear guide. It's always right in the center, and then you just stretch it. So you can stretch it. The number is right here on the side. We'll just say it's 900 feet. 904 since it landed right on. But again, if you need this to be an exact number, you just zoom in, get really close, and you can get it pretty much perfect. Actually, to show you, we'll say it's that long, 1398.97. So you know you need this front stretch to be this long. You can go back to adjust background image and change your width to any number, and then always click OK, and then it stretches the image. So it's a little bit long, but we'll just pretend. So it stretches the image, so you can get, based on those, you can get it the exact length that it is in real life. And same with, like, say I measured from that point to this point and it was 890 feet. Then I can make sure that's the exact thing. And then when you're laying out your track, instead of building something first, you would create your straight, and you can lay it out right on top of it. You can get it here, and then you're like, okay, now I need a curve. And like I said, the longer it is, the more it sticks out there, but you can get that. And this is your center line of the track. Usually, road course it's a little different, but usually I try to keep that to like one side and try to keep it as even as possible. It's like even here I'd maybe go a little bit shorter and then just do another curve, and then it gets a little bit tighter. These are always the difficult ones when you're coming out a curve and getting it straight, because sometimes it's hard to get that straight to stay on the track. Sometimes it veers left or right, and it's a pain to get right on. But you can do another curve and just kind of piece it together like this. And if you have a tight turn, say like you come off the turn here and then it was like a chicane or something, and if it, or let's do a chicane this way, I can only get this to go down so far, or like if it's a hairpin or something. So you can either do a bunch of small ones if that works. Otherwise, coming out of the corner, you can kind of fade it up to the top, and then you have a better angle to make a sharp turn and get it down into there. So that doesn't have to be exact, but just for coordinates later, I always try to keep it to one side or the other if I can. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, just let me know and I'll make another video and explain it better. Also, don't do this, don't have two different tracks. Sandbox hates that, and it will not open. But yeah, I think that's all I got right now. So this doesn't get too long. It's already way longer than I meant to do it, but there's lots of little things. Oh, if you do get this laid out, and this is the other good thing about the center line, if you can keep it pretty much the same. Oh, maybe this will work. If you can keep it the same when you do all your F sections, so you'll know like where you want your paint, where you want your asphalt, all that stuff. If you get it laid out on the very first section, most, like everything you have on the track, you get it how you want it. Obviously with an image you just lay it right on top of the image, but if you weren't, you can come here and you can get this with the coordinates down here. You can get it exactly like, oh, this is at 14.16 and I want my paint line to be 1 foot thick. So I'll come over and I'll get it at 13.16. Just pretend it was 1.6. And then you can get those same coordinates on this side, and it tells you too. Up here it says F section from D lats 1313 to 2190. So head is 1313, tail is 2190. So you can just kind of move that, and then you don't have to check back and forth. It tells you up here. But anyway, so you get all of it laid out, and if you right click anywhere in this section, not on a line, if you right click on a line, you get this. If you right click on here, you can go to copy features, and you can go copy backwards. And the reason I couldn't go forward is because this is angled and would hit this X section. If I just move this down, then it lets me go forward. But you can see it takes everything in there and it copies it forward. And so like all this asphalt, if you get it all looking exactly how you want it to be the same all the way around, you just have to do one section and then you can copy forward. And with the twists and turns, because the center line moves slightly, it's a little bit different because it might move. You might have to go and tweak it. But that's super handy that you can just right click and hit copy features, so you can fill up your track super quick actually if you got it all in there correctly. And if like my start finish line right now is this purple line here. If I'm like, oh, I don't want it there, I want it at this one, you just right click and hit lead segment, make lead segment, and now my purple line is moved. So you move that around, and then I think, yeah, there's a little arrow here, that's the direction of the track, which is just when you first lay it out, you'll see, you just decide which way to go. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else. If you right click on a line and this mark as Euclidean, if you have to use a curve to get everything lined back up, but it's actually straight for these F sections, and I think W sections for the wall, you can hit mark as Euclidean, and it just from one point to the other, it makes it straight. But if you go down too far and there's a curve, it'll not allow that, and then you'll see a little X, but you just got to move it around, and then you have a straight line again. And F sections cannot cross over these X red sections. And sadly you can't copy the red sections either. You have to put those all in individually. So if your track has lots of banking, that's kind of a pain, but it's not too bad. But W sections are just walls. Those can cross over the F sections. The US pits, I think I sent you that. There's one that has the walls and then the armcos. So if you do a wall there, so like over here, make that one a wall and keep this one an armco. Oh, also W sections don't touch, so you can always drag them and get them as close as possible. They'll never join. But you leave it armco, or put armco in front, I think, closest to the track. Then in your track INI, you can do track underscore armco underscore grip. And at least when I've ever tried it, when you hit the wall, it doesn't wall glue you, as long as the grip value is higher than whatever grip is closest to the wall. So like, if this was asphalt right here and it was 1.5, if I make that armco 1.6, when you hit the wall, you can turn off of it instead of getting wall glued and spinning out and losing all your speed. Again, at least when I've tried it, that works. Maybe it's just a fluke every time, but it seems to work. And then walls will have this facet, so you have to do the top, right, left. Near is just the head section, so when you're coming at it, the very end of the wall, if you don't do that, it'll just not have anything you'll see inside of the wall. The far is driving away from it, so what you'd see in your mirror, or what's on the back side of it. And again, it's just the very, like the end cap, basically. So don't forget to do those. You'll notice it when you get in the game. You'll be like, oh shoot, forgot that, and then I have to go fix it. But you have to do a texture for every one of those, otherwise it's just blank and you'll have an invisible wall. The physical size and the visual size, I always make those the same, but you could do the physical size is actually smaller than the visual size, so you can like kind of drive into the wall a little bit without hitting it, if you wanted to. Kind of gives people a little buffer of like, hey, don't get close, but if you make a mistake, you're not gonna hit the wall. You can choose your width and everything. And again, once you choose the width, you can go into camera mode and see like how it looks and everything. And it's in meters too. So obviously this is all in meters. Same with the height. For the Armco, and again that US Pits thing I sent will have all the things, but I usually do perpendicular. If you do vertical, sometimes you can do that thing where you drive up on the wall and it's just infinitely tall and invisible, and you can just drive around on the wall, which is kind of funny. But profile you can make curved, and then you just plot these points. You can kind of play with those to get the exact kind of curve you want. And then, like I said, you have to insert X sections, and then, whoops, not that. When you insert them, always make sure they're joined up all the way around the track. Don't leave any empty ends. Stallhood told me the game doesn't like that, and I tend to believe him. And then I always like to right click and hit mode absolute. And then once you get that all laid out, you can go to this height views, and if you double click, this left side here shows you like the elevation of your track from like a profile. From like, if you're looking at it standing far away, just looking straight at it, it shows the up and down motion of it. And you can drag this middle bar however you want. This right side is your banking. So yeah, there we're here. So this is obviously your right side, and this is that. So if you want your banking at something, you can get it exactly how you want it banked. And then you can like come over here and you can see like, okay, so I have it banked how much I want, but now I have this huge hump. So why I like the mode absolute is because you have this huge hump. If this is mode absolute, you can click this little square that's kind of off, and you can change the grade of it. So you can smooth out that hump a little bit or make it worse or whatever. So when the cars are going up, it's kind of more gradual, and then you can put another X section and raise this up and kind of make it so the cars don't ramp. Or if you want a ramp, you can just drag that up and now you have a ramp. And you can kind of see that is what that looks like. So obviously you can't drive on that, but you could try. Yeah, X sections, when you do those, you'll notice the game starts to run slow. I would try to save before that. Like when I click on file, it loads in but is a little bit off. The game, for whatever, or the program just gets super slow whenever you put X sections in, especially when you're messing with the banking and everything. So if you're doing banking or any elevation changes, I would just try to remember to save, like, you do a section or a few sections or whatever. If you notice the game's running slow, for sure save, but if you just get in the habit of every few sections, you just save. And like I said, that's why I change the number every time, so that if I save it and I forget for a while and it crashes, it sucks because I lost everything, but I still have something to fall back on that I know works. Yeah, this was way longer than I meant to be, so sorry you've had to listen to me talk so long. But as you can see, Sandbox is kind of its own animal that has a lot going on into it. So as you use it more, you'll start to learn all these little tricks and kind of learn how it works. You also might get frustrated and won't punch your computer because Sandbox keeps crashing on you, and you just did all this banking and elevation, and you had all your textures laid out and it looked perfect, and then it crashes and corrupts the file and you have to start over or something. But again, that is why I have 56 saves of Pepsi Super Speedway. My first track I really did, I had to edit it a bunch because it was bad, but I'm up to 204 different versions of Luigi Raceway. As you can see here, had to remake it. The front stretch was messed up. Tried different things. Had to make it bigger. Yeah, so kind of had to tinker with it, and I lost this one actually. That's one of the first learning experiences when I did too much banking and it corrupted, and I start over with no banking and put all the X sections in again. I was like, gosh darn it. But so now I save a lot. And then I did that compatibility thing, and I think I've had Sandbox crash on me once, and it was just because I started clicking around too much. Like I hit the wrong key or something, and then I tried to click out of it, and then click to save it quick, and it was too much, and it crashed. But I don't think anything else has ever happened. So yeah, that's Sandbox. And you can see, whoops, this is my Chicago. I thought that was Randall's. This is mine that I made because someone's like, I wonder how that's gonna be, so I laid it out quick. Oh, this will be good actually. You can see my background. So I went to Google Earth for the Chicago street course. I found a map that showed the exact streets that it's going to be on. I think it should still be in here. Yeah. There it is. Man, I really hope that's not... I think it is. That sucks. Anyway. Oh yeah, then if you want to see your track and things are in the way, you can turn off Draw World underneath, and then you have your lines there, but you can see everything. But I found the exact streets, so I went to Google Earth. I measured how long from this intersection to this intersection, and then with my background image, I just played with it with the linear guide until I got either exactly how long it is or at least close, and I laid out the track right on top of the streets. I took some creative liberties because like there's a row of trees here, but I was like, that's not gonna be fun for racing because I'm not good at road courses, so I made it nice and wide which is better for me so I don't crash as much. And like over here, I actually didn't make this thinner, but there's a tunnel right here in Chicago. I don't know who's, I think they're actually going to the left of the tunnel and then coming back, but I don't know whose bright idea it was to race stock cars in a race where there's hitting and then have a tunnel that's just open right there. But hopefully no one falls into the tunnel. They'll have barrels and stuff, but it still seems like a dumb idea. But yeah, you can see I just laid it out right on top, and that's all thanks to this background image, which is nice because you can get it exactly how the track is. So hopefully you find a good view of your go-kart track because it can be fun. And then it's just kind of playing around with it and making it how you want it. You can literally do anything with textures or anything like that. So this was way longer than it should have been probably, but now you have something to watch a couple times, and hopefully it was not super boring and somewhat helpful. And if it wasn't, just let me know. I'll try doing an abridged version and just talk about one thing exactly. And instead of giving you, I don't even know how long this was, an hour, oh yeah, 45 minutes. Instead of giving you 50 minutes, I guess, of talking, I'll condense it into 5 minutes and just make a couple videos so it's easier to digest. But good luck. If you need help, obviously ask me anytime. I'll try to get back to you quick. Stallhood also knows stuff, so there's plenty of us around. And there's forums you can always find. But good luck.